The arrival. The stars over the Pacific Ocean twinkled peacefully in the night sky, unaware of the momentous event about to unfold. At the Mauna Kea observatories in Hawaii, Dr. Samantha Chen peered through the largest telescope on Earth, continuing her nightly survey of the cosmos. It was a routine she had followed for years, searching for new celestial bodies and phenomena. But tonight was different. As she adjusted the telescope's focus, a gasp escaped her lips. There, at the edge of the solar system, was something impossible. A massive object had appeared out of nowhere, its size dwarfing anything humanity had ever encountered. "This can't be right," she muttered, double-checking the readings. But the data didn't lie. The object was real, and it was moving, heading directly towards Earth. Within hours, observatories around the world confirmed Dr. Chen's discovery. The news spread like wildfire through scientific communities, government agencies, and eventually to the public. An alien ship, larger than any human construct, had entered the solar system. In Washington, D.C., President Elena Rodriguez sat in the Situation Room, surrounded by her top advisors and military officials. The atmosphere was tense, filled with a mixture of fear and excitement. "What are our options?" she asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. General Michael Hawthorne, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, cleared his throat. "Madam President, we've put our military on high alert. But truthfully, if their intentions are hostile, we don't stand a chance. That ship could probably wipe out our entire planet without breaking a sweat." The Secretary of State, Javier Mendoza, interjected, "We need to attempt communication. This could be our chance for peaceful first contact." As the debate raged on, similar scenes played out in capitals around the world. The United Nations convened an emergency session, and for the first time in history, the squabbling nations of Earth began to unite under a common purpose. Meanwhile, the alien ship continued its approach, silent and enigmatic. Days passed, and the world watched with bated breath. Then, without warning, it happened. A signal, powerful enough to be picked up by radio telescopes and even consumer electronics, blanketed the Earth. The alien ship was broadcasting a message. At NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Dr. Aisha Patel led a team of the world's best linguists and cryptographers in a desperate race to decipher the alien transmission. They worked around the clock, fueled by caffeine and the weight of humanity's future on their shoulders. "It's unlike anything we've ever encountered," Dr. Patel explained to the president during a video conference. "The language, if we can call it that, operates on principles we're only beginning to grasp. It's not just words, it's conveying complex ideas through mathematical and spatial relationships." As the scientists toiled, the world held its collective breath. Social media exploded with theories and speculation. Religious leaders proclaimed the end times or the dawning of a new age. Governments struggled to maintain order as panic began to set in. In New York City, Sarah Thompson clutched her young daughter's hand as they hurried through the crowded streets. People were stocking up on supplies, fearing the worst. The usual cacophony of the city was muted, replaced by an undercurrent of fear and anticipation. "Mommy, are the aliens going to hurt us?" her daughter asked, blue eyes wide with worry. Sarah forced a smile. "No, sweetie. They've come a long way. I'm sure they just want to say hello." But as she looked up at the sky, now dominated by the looming shape of the alien vessel, she wasn't so sure. Back in Washington, President Rodriguez prepared to address the nation. Her speechwriters had labored over every word, trying to strike a balance between caution and hope. As the cameras rolled, she took a deep breath and began. "My fellow Americans, citizens of Earth, we stand at a crossroads in human history. The arrival of this alien ship represents our first contact with an intelligence beyond our world. While we cannot yet know their intentions, we must face this moment with courage, unity, and an open mind. I urge everyone to remain calm. Our scientists are working tirelessly to establish communication, and we are coordinating with nations around the world to present a united front." This is a time for humanity to come together, to show the best of who we are. As the president spoke, Dr. Patel and her team at JPL had a breakthrough. They had deciphered part of the alien message. With trembling hands, Dr. Patel picked up the phone to deliver the news that would change everything. "Madam President," she said, her voice quivering with excitement and fear, "we've translated the first part of the message. It says, 'We come in peace. We need your help.'" The implications of those simple words sent shockwaves through the halls of power. The aliens, despite their advanced technology, needed humanity's assistance. But for what? As the alien ship drew closer, now visible to the naked eye as a dark spot against the moon, humanity grappled with a mix of emotions. Fear of the unknown battled with the excitement of potential discoveries. The possibility of conflict loomed, but so did the promise of advancement beyond their wildest dreams. In homes, schools, and gathering places around the world, people looked to the skies with a new perspective. The vastness of space, once an abstract concept, now felt immediate and personal. Humanity stood on the precipice of a new era, united in the face of the greatest challenge and opportunity they had ever encountered. As the first part of this cosmic drama drew to a close, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The arrival of the alien ship had irrevocably altered the course of human history. What came next would depend on humanity's ability to overcome its fears, tap into its innate curiosity and adaptability, and reach out to the stars with open minds and hearts. The stage was set for first contact, and the whole world watched and waited, wondering what the dawn would bring. First contact. The world held its breath as the alien ship, now dubbed the Visitor by the media, settled into orbit around Earth. Its massive form cast a shadow visible from the ground, a constant reminder of humanity's new reality. In a fortified bunker beneath the United Nations headquarters in New York, representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to plan humanity's next move. The air was thick with tension and the hum of translation devices. Dr. Aisha Patel, still bleary-eyed from days of non-stop work, stood before the assembly. "We've made significant progress in decoding their language," she explained. "It's a complex system of mathematical and spatial relationships, but we believe we can now communicate basic concepts." UN Secretary General Adebayo Okonkwo nodded gravely. "Then it's time. We must send a delegation to meet with them." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices, each nation vying to have their representatives included. After hours of heated debate, a team was assembled. Dr. Patel to lead communications, Colonel Yuki Tanaka of Japan for military expertise, Dr. Eduardo Vargas of Brazil for scientific knowledge, and Ambassador Lena Petrov of Russia for diplomatic skills. As the team prepared for their unprecedented journey, the world watched and waited. News channels ran non-stop coverage, dissecting every detail of the upcoming mission. Social media buzzed with speculation and conspiracy theories. In orbit, a small shuttle detached from the International Space Station. Inside, the 4 chosen representatives sat in tense silence as they approached the colossal alien vessel. Colonel Tanaka piloted the craft with steady hands, her military training keeping her calm despite the extraordinary circumstances. As they neared the Visitor, its true scale became apparent. The human shuttle was like a gnat next to a whale. A section of the alien ship's hull shimmered and seemed to dissolve, revealing an entrance. "Well," Dr. Vargas said, breaking the silence, "I guess that's our invitation." Colonel Tanaka guided the shuttle into the opening. As they passed through, they felt a strange tingling sensation. Instruments flickered and then stabilized. Artificial gravity, Dr. Vargas noted, his scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his apprehension, and some kind of atmospheric shield. Fascinating. They emerged into a vast chamber that defied human architecture. The walls seemed to shift and pulse with an inner light, and structures floated unsupported in midair. It was beautiful, alien, and terrifying all at once. As they exited the shuttle, wearing protective suits as a precaution, Ambassador Petrov took a deep breath. "Remember," she said, "we represent all of humanity now. Let's make a good first impression." They hadn't taken more than a few steps when the air in front of them shimmered. A form began to take shape, tall, translucent, and vaguely humanoid. As it solidified, they found themselves face to face with their first alien. The being towered over them, its body a complex lattice of crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. Where a head should be, there was a cluster of shimmering points that moved in hypnotic patterns. Dr. Patel stepped forward, her hands shaking slightly as she activated the communication device she had developed. It projected a series of complex mathematical equations and spatial diagrams, their best attempt at a universal language. The alien being seemed to consider the projection for a moment. Then, to everyone's shock, it responded, not in mathematical formulas, but in perfect English. "We welcome you, representatives of Earth," the alien said, its voice a strange harmonic that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We are the Zarkax, and we have traveled far to seek your aid." The human team exchanged stunned glances. Ambassador Petrov, recovering first, stepped forward. "We are honored to meet you," she said, her diplomatic training kicking in. "May we ask how you've learned our language so quickly?" The Zarkax's lights pulsed in what might have been amusement. "We have been observing your world for some time, studying your transmissions. Your languages are primitive, but not difficult to master." Colonel Tanaka tensed at this, her military mind immediately considering the security implications. Dr. Vargas, on the other hand, leaned forward eagerly. "Your technology is incredible," he said. "The scientific advancements we could learn from you." The Zarkax interrupted, its tone taking on a note of urgency. "There will be time for exchange of knowledge. But first, we must speak of why we have come. Our world is dying, and we believe Earth holds the key to our survival." This declaration hung in the air, its implications slowly sinking in. The humans had come prepared for many scenarios: peaceful exchange, technological marvels, even the possibility of conflict. But this was unexpected. Ambassador Petrov, ever the diplomat, chose her words carefully. "We are, of course, willing to listen and help if we can, but we must understand more about your situation and what exactly you're asking of us." The Zarkax's form shimmered, and suddenly the chamber around them transformed. They found themselves surrounded by holographic images of a strange world, crystal spires reaching into purple skies, vast oceans of liquid metal, and beings like their host moving through it all. "This is our home," the Zarkax explained, or rather, what it once was. The images shifted, showing the crystal spires crumbling, the oceans boiling away, the Zarkax themselves dimming and fragmenting. "Our star is dying," the alien continued. "It's entering a phase that is destroying our world. We have searched the galaxy for a solution, and our studies show that Earth's biosphere contains unique elements that could save us, but we need your help to adapt them to our physiology." The human team absorbed this information in stunned silence. The fate of an entire alien civilization potentially rested in their hands, but the implications for Earth were enormous. What would this mean for their own world, their own future? Dr. Patel, her scientific mind racing, asked, "What specific elements do you need, and how would the process of adapting them work?" As the Zarkax began to explain, delving into concepts that pushed the boundaries of human scientific understanding, tensions among the team became apparent. Dr. Vargas was fascinated, eagerly discussing possibilities. Colonel Tanaka remained guarded, concerned about potential threats to Earth. Ambassador Petrov tried to steer the conversation towards the diplomatic implications. Hours passed as they talked, each new piece of information raising more questions. The complexity of the situation became increasingly clear. This wasn't just about first contact anymore. It was about the survival of one species and the potential transformation of another. As their initial meeting drew to a close, the human team prepared to return to Earth. They had volumes of information to report, decisions of unimaginable consequence to consider. The Zarkak's escort led them back to their shuttle. As they prepared to depart, the alien said, "We await your world's decision. But know this, time is short, for us and perhaps for you as well." With those ominous words hanging in the air, the team began their journey back to Earth. As they flew away from the alien ship, each of them grappled with the weight of what they had learned. They had come seeking answers, but had found instead a cosmic dilemma. The future of two worlds now hung in the balance, and the decisions made in the coming days would shape the destiny of both humanity and the Zarkaks. As Earth came into view, blue and fragile against the vastness of space, they knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The real challenge of first contact was only just beginning: cultural exchange. In the weeks following the initial contact, Earth buzzed with activity. The UN had established a dedicated interspecies relations committee, and every nation had mobilized its best scientists, diplomats, and thinkers to address the Zarkaks' request. Dr. Aisha Patel found herself at the center of it all, coordinating teams of researchers around the globe. Her office at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory had become a hub of frantic activity, screens displaying data from every corner of the planet. The Zarkaks weren't exaggerating about the uniqueness of Earth's biosphere. She explained to a gathering of world leaders via holographic conference, "We've identified several extremophile bacteria and rare plant species that could potentially help stabilize their dying world." President Rodriguez leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "And what would be the impact on our ecosystem if we were to share these resources?" Dr. Eduardo Vargas, now heading the scientific liaison team, chimed in. "Minimal, Madam President. These are species that exist in very specific, often extreme environments. Their removal wouldn't disrupt the broader ecosystem." As the discussion continued, it became clear that helping the Zarkaks was not just a moral imperative, but also an opportunity. In exchange for Earth's biological resources, the aliens had offered to share some of their advanced technology, particularly in the fields of energy production and space travel. The potential for advancement was staggering: clean, unlimited energy, the ability to explore and potentially colonize other planets, cures for diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. It seemed too good to be true. And for some it was. Colonel Yuki Tanaka, speaking from a military base in Tokyo, voiced the concerns of many. "We must proceed with caution," she warned. "While the Zarkaks appear peaceful, we know very little about their true capabilities or intentions. We must be prepared for any eventuality." Despite these concerns, the prevailing mood was one of cautious optimism. Humanity had been offered a chance not just to save another species, but to catapult itself into a new era of technological advancement. As Earth's governments debated and prepared, the Zarkaks made an unprecedented offer. They invited a small group of humans to visit their ship, to learn more about their culture and the challenges they faced. The chosen delegation was a mix of scientists, cultural experts, and diplomats. Among them was Dr. Maya Suri, a renowned anthropologist known for her work with isolated human tribes. Her expertise in bridging cultural divides would be put to the ultimate test. As the human delegation boarded the shuttle to the Zarkak ship, Dr. Suri felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Remember," she told her colleagues, "we're not just scientists or diplomats now. We're ambassadors for all of humanity. Everything we do, every reaction we have, will shape the Zarkaks' perception of our species." The journey to the alien ship was short, but for the humans on board, it felt like crossing an unimaginable divide. As they docked and entered the vast, shimmering interior of the Zarkaks vessel, they were greeted by a group of the crystalline beings. Communication was still a challenge, despite the advances made by Dr. Patel's team. The Zarkaks thought in concepts that often defied easy translation into human languages. Yet, as the days passed, understanding began to grow on both sides. The humans were in awe of Zarkak's technology. They witnessed energy fields that could manipulate gravity, computational systems that made Earth's most advanced supercomputers look like abacuses, and medical techniques that could restructure living tissue at a molecular level. Dr. Vargas spent hours in deep discussion with Zarkak scientists, his mind reeling at the implications of what he was learning. Their understanding of physics goes beyond anything we've imagined, he reported back to Earth. They don't just use technology. They shape the very fabric of reality. But it wasn't all one-sided. The Zarkaks, for all their advanced technology, were fascinated by human creativity and adaptability. They marveled at art and music, concepts that were largely foreign to their mathematically oriented minds. When Dr. Suri introduced them to the works of Van Gogh and Mozart, the aliens' crystalline forms pulsed with new patterns, a sign of intense emotional response. "How do you create such beauty from chaos?" one Zarkax asked, its harmonic voice filled with wonder. The cultural exchange led to some humorous misunderstandings as well. When offered a traditional Earth meal, the Zarkaks were baffled by the concept of eating for pleasure rather than pure sustenance. Their attempt to reciprocate by sharing their own food, a complex energy field, left the humans with tingling sensations and glowing fingertips for hours. As the days passed, both species began to see each other in a new light. The humans realized that for all their technological prowess, the Zarkaks were a species facing extinction, filled with fear and hope. The aliens, in turn, began to understand the complexity and potential of humanity. One evening, as Dr. Suri was explaining the concept of families to a group of fascinated Zarkaks, she received an urgent message from Earth. The UN had reached a decision. They would help the Zarkaks, providing the biological samples needed to save their world. In return, the aliens would share specific technologies, carefully chosen to advance humanity without overwhelming them. The news was met with joy and relief on both sides. The Zarkaks' crystalline forms glowed with intense light, a display of emotion that needed no translation. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth to begin the next phase of the interspecies cooperation, Dr. Suri reflected on the enormity of what had transpired. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, forming a bond with a species from across the stars. But as she looked out at the vast expanse of space from the Zarkak ship, a small worry nagged at her. They had achieved so much in so little time. Perhaps too much, too quickly. Would all of humanity be ready to accept this new reality? And what unforeseen consequences might their decisions have? As if sensing her thoughts, one of the Zarkaks approached. Its crystalline form shimmered in a pattern Dr. Suri had come to recognize as one of reassurance. "The path ahead is uncertain," it said, its harmonic voice gentle. "But together, we have taken the first steps. That is what matters." Dr. Suri nodded, taking a deep breath. The future was unknown, but it was filled with possibilities. Humanity and the Zarkaks were no longer alone in the universe. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As the shuttle detached from the Zarkak ship and began its journey back to Earth, Dr. Suri and her colleagues knew they were carrying more than just scientific data and cultural observations. They were bringing hope, hope for the Zarkaks, hope for humanity, and hope for a future where the stars themselves were within reach. The true impact of this cultural exchange was yet to be seen, but one thing was certain. The universe would never be the same again. Gathering storm. As news of the agreement between Earth and the Zarkaks spread, the initial wave of excitement began to give way to a more complex reality. While many celebrated this new era of interstellar cooperation, others viewed the rapidly unfolding events with growing concern. In New York, the UN building had become the epicenter of a global debate. Nations argued over the distribution of Zarkak's technology, each vying for a greater share of the alien knowledge. The promise of clean, unlimited energy and revolutionary medical advancements had turned former allies into competitors. Dr. Aisha Patel watched the proceedings with a heavy heart. "This isn't what we intended," she confided to Dr. Eduardo Vargas as they left yet another contentious meeting. "We're supposed to be united in this endeavor, not squabbling like children over new toys." Vargas nodded grimly. "And it's not just governments. Have you seen the protests?" Indeed, across the globe, a movement was growing. Humans' first rallies sprang up in cities from London to Lagos, Tokyo to Toronto. The protesters' message was clear: Earth's resources should be for humans alone. In Dallas, Texas, Sarah Thompson found herself caught in one such rally as she tried to pick up her daughter from school. The crowd's angry chants filled the air. "Send them back. Earth for Earthlings." Sarah clutched her daughter's hand tightly as they navigated through the sea of angry faces. "Mommy, why are they so mad at the aliens?" her daughter asked, fear evident in her voice. Sarah struggled to find an answer that a child could understand. "Sometimes, honey, people are afraid of things that are different or new. But that doesn't mean those things are bad." As they finally reached their car, Sarah couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The world was changing so fast, and not everyone was ready for it. Meanwhile, aboard the Zarkak ship, not all was well either. A faction had emerged among the alien crew, led by a Zarkak's elder named Zorax. They viewed the alliance with humans with deep skepticism. "These creatures are primitive and volatile," Zorax argued in the ship's central chamber, its crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "We've seen their history, their constant conflicts. Can we truly trust them with our future?" The Zarkak's leader, Xelna, attempted to calm the dissent. "We have no choice. Our world is dying. The humans have shown great potential. Yes, they are young as a species, but they have much to offer." But Zorax and its followers were not easily swayed. They began to formulate plans of their own, believing that more drastic measures might be necessary to ensure their species' survival. As tensions simmered on both sides, a series of incidents began to escalate the situation. On Earth, a group of extremists attacked a facility preparing biological samples for the Zarkaks, destroying months of work and irreplaceable specimens. Colonel Yuki Tanaka, now heading Earth's newly formed Interstellar Security Division, was tasked with investigating the attack. As she sifted through the wreckage, her worst fears seemed to be coming true. "This isn't just vandalism," she reported to President Rodriguez. "This was a coordinated strike. Someone is actively trying to sabotage our alliance with the Zarkaks." The president's face was grim on the secure video link. "Do what you need to do, Colonel. We can't let a few extremists jeopardize everything we've worked for." But it wasn't just Earth facing internal strife. Aboard the Zarkak ship, a series of mysterious malfunctions began to plague crucial systems. Dr. Mayasuri, who had remained on the ship as a cultural liaison, noticed an increasing sense of paranoia among her alien hosts. "Something's not right," she confided in a secure transmission to Dr. Patel. "The Zarkaks are becoming more secretive, more guarded. I fear there's a faction here working against the Alliance as well." As both species grappled with these internal divisions, the exchange of knowledge and resources continued, but now under a cloud of suspicion. Each side began to hold back, fear and mistrust eroding the foundation of their newfound relationship. The situation came to a head when a human scientist, Dr. Alex Chen, made a startling discovery while working with Zarkak's technology. He found evidence that the aliens' need might be far more urgent than they had initially disclosed. According to his calculations, the Zarkak's homeworld had mere months, not years, before it would become uninhabitable. When confronted with this information, the Zarkak's leadership was evasive, neither confirming nor denying Dr. Chen's findings. This perceived deception sent shockwaves through Earth's scientific and political communities. "They've been lying to us from the start," Colonel Tanaka argued in an emergency session of the UN Security Council. "Who knows what else they're hiding? We need to suspend all cooperation until we get the full truth." But Dr. Patel pleaded for calm. If Dr. Chen's findings are correct, then the Zarkaks are acting out of desperate need, not malice. Cutting them off now could doom their entire species. As the debate raged on Earth, the situation aboard the Zarkak ship was reaching a boiling point. Zoraks and its followers, convinced that humans would ultimately betray them, began to advocate for more drastic action. "We should take what we need by force," Zoraks declared. "The humans are divided and vulnerable. We have the technology to overwhelm their defenses." Zelna, the Zarkak's leader, was horrified. "That would go against everything we stand for. We came in peace, seeking cooperation, not conquest." But as news of the growing hostility on Earth reached the ship, more and more Zarkaks were swayed by Zorax's arguments. The crisis came to a head when a human military vessel, acting on faulty intelligence, fired a warning shot at the Zarkak ship, believing it was preparing to attack. Though no real damage was done, the incident shattered the last vestiges of trust between the two species. On Earth, military forces were put on high alert. The Zarkak ship, previously in a stable orbit, began to power up its advanced propulsion systems. Both sides, driven by fear and misunderstanding, stood on the brink of a conflict that could devastate both worlds. Dr. Suri, watching in horror as events unfolded around her, realized that everything they had worked for was about to be destroyed. With communications between Earth and the Zarkak ship breaking down, she knew she had to act. Risking everything, she managed to send one last transmission to Dr. Patel. "It's all a misunderstanding. There are those on both sides working to undermine us. We need to expose the truth before it's too late. Find Dr. Chen. I'll do what I can here. We have hours, maybe less, before this escalates beyond control." As her message cut off, alarms began to blare throughout the Zarkak ship. On Earth, military commanders awaited orders, fingers hovering over buttons that could launch devastating weapons. The clock was ticking. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance. And in the vast, cold expanse of space, the promise of a new era of interstellar cooperation teetered on the edge of catastrophe. United we stand. The alarms blaring through the Zarkak ship and the war rooms of Earth's military installations created a cacophony of impending doom. Humanity and the Zarkaks stood at the precipice of a conflict that could annihilate both species. But in this darkest hour, a spark of hope remained. Dr. Aisha Patel, her hands shaking but her resolve firm, replayed Dr. Maya Suri's final transmission. "Find Dr. Chen," Maya had said. With time running out, Aisha knew this was their last chance to prevent catastrophe. She reached out to Colonel Yuki Tanaka, hoping the military woman's resources could help locate the missing scientist. "Colonel, I know we've had our differences, but right now, finding Dr. Chen is our only hope of stopping this madness." To her surprise, Tanaka agreed without hesitation. "I've seen too much war, Dr. Patel. If there's a chance to prevent another, I'm in." As they coordinated their search, aboard the Zarkak ship, Dr. Suri was taking an enormous risk. Using the knowledge she'd gained during her time with the aliens, she managed to access the ship's internal communication system. "People of Earth, Zarkaks, please listen." Her voice echoed through the ship and was broadcast to Earth. "This conflict is based on misunderstandings and the actions of a few who fear change. We are on the brink of destroying everything we've worked for, everything we could become together." Her impassioned plea bought precious minutes as both sides hesitated, confused by this unexpected broadcast. Meanwhile, Dr. Patel and Colonel Tanaka had located Dr. Chen. He had gone into hiding, fearing retribution for his discovery. When they found him, he was a nervous wreck, but his brilliance shone through. "The Zarkaks," he explained frantically. "They're not lying about needing our help. But there's more. The process of saving their world, it could revolutionize how we terraform planets. We could solve Earth's climate crisis, colonize Mars, even venture beyond our solar system." As this revelation sank in, they realized the true magnitude of what was at stake. It wasn't just about saving the Zarkaks. It was about securing a bright future for humanity as well. With renewed determination, they raced against time to spread the truth. Dr. Patel used her scientific contacts, Colonel Tanaka, her military channels, and Dr. Chen provided irrefutable data. Slowly, the tide of public and political opinion began to turn. On the Zarkak ship, Dr. Suri's words had sown seeds of doubt among those who were calling for aggressive action. Tahilna, the Zarkak's leader, seized this moment to confront Zorax and its followers. "Look at what fear and mistrust have brought us to." Zelna's harmonic voice resonated with emotion. "We came seeking help, offering friendship. Are we to abandon our principles so easily? Are we no better than those we fear?" The ship's central chamber fell silent as the Zarkaks grappled with this question. In that moment of reflection, the more aggressive factions began to stand down. As tensions eased on the Zarkak ship, Earth's leaders were also stepping back from the brink. President Rodriguez, emboldened by the new information and the turning tide of public opinion, took to the global stage. "People of Earth, we stand at a crossroads," her voice carried across the world. "We can choose fear and conflict, or we can embrace this unprecedented opportunity for growth and cooperation. The Zarkaks need our help, yes, but we need them too. Together, we can forge a future brighter than either of us could achieve alone." Her words, combined with the spreading truth about the potential benefits of the alliance, began to calm the stormy waters of public opinion. The Humans First movement found its support dwindling as people realized the true stakes of the situation. In a bold move, President Rodriguez invited Selena to address the United Nations directly. The Zarkak's leader's appearance, broadcast globally, was a turning point. Its crystalline form shimmering with sincerity, Selma spoke of the hopes and fears of its people, of the desire for peaceful coexistence and mutual growth. "We are different." Zelna's harmonic voice resonated through the assembly hall. "But in our hearts, in our desire for survival and progress, we are the same. Let us move forward not as two species, but as one united force for good in this vast universe." The speech was met with a standing ovation, not just in the UN, but in homes and gathering places around the world. The tide had turned. In the days that followed, the alliance between Earth and the Zarkaks was renewed and strengthened. With the air cleared and trust rebuilt, both sides committed to full transparency and cooperation. Dr. Patel, Colonel Tanaka, Dr. Suri, and Dr. Chen found themselves hailed as heroes, the team that had saved two worlds from the brink of disaster. But for them, the real work was just beginning. The exchange of knowledge and resources resumed with newfound vigor. Zarkak's technology, combined with Earth's biological diversity, yielded breakthroughs beyond anything either species had imagined. The process of saving the Zarkak's homeworld became a model for terraforming, opening up new possibilities for human expansion into space. On Earth, clean energy revolutionized industries and economies. Medical advancements eradicated diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. The first joint human Zarkak space mission was launched, a symbol of the new era of cooperation. As Sarah Thompson watched the launch with her daughter, seeing humans and Zarkaks working side by side, she felt a swell of hope. "You see, honey," she said, hugging her child close. "This is what happens when we choose to understand instead of fear, when we stand united instead of divided." The girl nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. "Do you think I could visit the Zarkak's world someday, Mom?" Sarah smiled. "I think you can do anything you set your mind to, sweetheart. The universe is open to us now." As the joint mission ship disappeared into the stars, carrying the hopes and dreams of two species, Earth and the Zarkaks stood united, ready to face whatever challenges the cosmos might bring. They had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. The dawn of a new era had truly begun, one where the combined strength, creativity, and determination of humanity and the Zarkaks would shape the destiny of not just two worlds, but potentially the entire galaxy. As night fell on Earth, The stars seemed to shine a little brighter, a cosmic applause for the momentous step two vastly different species had taken together. The future, once uncertain and frightening, now gleamed with limitless potential. United they stood, ready to explore, discover, and grow in ways neither had ever dreamed possible.